and welcome to After Cafe, where the estate shape thoughts find depth and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. She's the owner and founder, Practical Sanctuary, Sensory Interior Design, and of course, a debut author and the author of the book, The Eccentric Genius Habitat Invention or Intervention, other than Miss Stephanie Jackson.
Daniel. Daniel,
Well,
hi. It's so good to be talking with you again.
welcome once again, Miss Stephanie, on Abstract Essay. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
I used to be a fine artist. I used to be the kind of fine artist that gets their furniture out of dumpsters
Yes.
and paints instead of earning money. And everything I did funded my artist lifestyle. Everything I did funded the art. About 15 years ago, that stopped working. I moved to Philadelphia. I had a child and I needed to earn a living. So
Yes.
I took my massage therapy business seriously as a business for the first time. And after a couple of years, my massage therapy clients started commissioning me to do art in their spaces. And I told them, no, I don't do that anymore. And they said, here's a check. And I said, I will do that. And that is how I started my business, Practical Sanctuary Sensory Interior Design. I create habitats that reflect people's nervous systems.
Interesting. Interesting indeed, Miss Stephanie. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And today let's talk about your debut book, The Eccentric Genius Habitat Intervention. So tell us, the title uses a powerful term, habitat intervention. Why is habitat a more accurate word than home or decor for describing the environment needs for a highly sensitive person?
Because we are animals. We humans are animals that interface with the world as a habitat. Everything around us affects us. And we interface with that habitat with our nervous systems, which are different from one another. That's really important to understand because we assume that everyone else is experiencing the world the same way that we are. And that is not true. A lot of ways that our homes are built and designed by people who do not experience the world the way we do. And things that are comfortable to them may not be comfortable to us. And when we're not comfortable, we don't function well. So I use the word habitat to really emphasize the fact that life requires optimum circumstances. That's what evolution is about. That the world creates us and then we create the world, and it's a cyclical process.
A cyclical process. Miss, you frame high sensitivity as a form of eccentric genius. How does designing for this trait shift from merely managing overstimulation to actively cultivating and empowering a unique way of experiencing the world?
That's a good question. In order to cultivate, you need to understand. Many people are not aware of the ways in which their own nervous system is different from the mean, the norm. I didn't realize that I was highly sensitive until a book drifted across my desk at my job, and it was called The Highly Sensitive Person by Elaine Aron. And at that time, I assumed that being highly sensitive was code for being weak and fragile and whiny. And I was like, I am not sensitive. And I read, I took the test and I tested 99th percentile high sensitivity. And that changed everything about how I saw myself in the world. Things that I assumed I just had to grit my teeth and muscle through were things that were bothering me a lot that were not bothering the people around me or that the people around me didn't even notice. And that changed how I behaved. When I recognized that if someone was playing really, really loud music and smoking something that made my head hurt, that they weren't being aggressive toward me. They didn't know that it was painful for me, but that still meant that I had the right to either get myself out of that environment or ask them to turn the music down. And I think that kind of empowerment is one of the reasons I wrote this book. That the more you understand your own nervous system, the more you can cultivate an environment that is going to help your nervous system function, regulate your emotions, regulate your ability to focus and plan, and it's going to give you more mental bandwidth to connect with other people. So it's huge.
Huge for sure. So, for someone who is not an highly sensitive person, what does actually feel like to have a nervous system that is constantly processing the subtle texture of a space, the hum of a fridge, the flicker of the light, or the feel of a fabric?
It's hard to explain to someone who doesn't experience it, but the best I can say is that your awareness is very subtle things make a big difference in terms of how you're feeling, how much attention you can pay to whoever else is in the room, how you think. It's it's possible to get distracted by the hum of a fridge to the point where you can't think. I mean, there was one time, it's funny that you mentioned refrigerators because there was one time my landlord switched out my fridge and the new fridge had this high pitched hum that I could hear and the landlord couldn't. And it,
Uh-huh.
it was just, I couldn't focus. I would literally turn the refrigerator off while I was in the kitchen and then I'd forget to turn it back on and all the food would go bad. Things that seem trivial to people who are not sensitive can be almost disabling or at least highly, highly annoying and irritating to a highly sensitive person. The other thing is that you pick up on people's feelings in your body. And if someone else in the room is feeling angry or irritated or depressed, you will absorb it. And even if you decide it's not your business, you don't have to do anything about it. It takes energy to do that. So being highly sensitive is draining because you're so aware of things. You have to keep making decisions about all those things you're aware of. And knowing that other people aren't even aware of those things is it's very isolating. It feels like you have a superpower, but it's also something that you have to manage.
A superpower indeed, Miss Stephanie. So this goes far beyond a certain style. What is the most important non-visual element that you focus on the habitat intervention?
The most important visual element is whatever the person who inhabits the space needs to be seeing in order to feel that they are at home. That could be literally anything. That's one of the first things I do when I come into someone's place to help them intervene with their habitat. I ask them a lot of questions. I ask them, like, what is it that you love that's in here? What's your favorite thing? How does this make you feel? Why is that there? There's always an answer, and the answers to the questions that I ask will give me the information that I need to help start making changes that are going to help the person feel more at home.
Mrs. Stephanie, what are the three non-negotiable elements of creating sensory sanctuary or retreat space within a home where an highly sensitive person can truly decompress and recharge?
The first and most important one is boundaries. If you do not have a space that you can retreat to and control who comes in, what filters through, you can't be at peace. It doesn't even have to be a whole room, it doesn't have to be a door that you close, although that's preferable. It can be a corner, it can be a wall, it can be a seat at a table, but having a bubble where you can at least have the majority of the influence on what's penetrating that bubble is absolutely essential. Everything else is about delineating that bubble. What sounds get through? What light gets through? What textures are in the furniture? What colors and images are there? What media, screens, books, musical instruments, all of those things start with defining a boundary for who is going to be there and what they want to accomplish there.
Interesting, Mrs. Stephanie. So, how can the simple design for an entryway or mudroom be transformed into a crucial decompression chamber to transition from the overwhelming outside world to the safety of the home?
It's interesting that you picked that because I just attended a conference on neurodiversity where there were some researchers from Gensler that have studied sensory interior design from a on a big picture scale for the last few years, and they were talking about how transitions are incredibly important. You can't have every place be calming. There's necessarily going to be some times where you're going to have spaces that are bright, that are loud, that are chaotic. And having a transition that takes you gently from one state to another, that it's not a real abrupt change, is
Mhm.
really important for helping people regulate and deal with that transition. So, an entryway is going to, first of all, need to be welcoming. It's going to need to say, welcome home. It's going to need to be clear. It needs to be free of physical clutter. It needs to be free of mental and emotional clutter. How many times have you walked through your front door and right in front of you is a pile of mail that you haven't opened and a pile of shoes that are all everywhere? Yeah, see, mail is stressful. Am I right?
Yes.
Unopened mail could have bills in it.
Yes.
It could have things you really don't want to deal with. That's not saying welcome home. That's, oh man, there's a whole stack of things I'm not prepared to deal with. So
Mrs.
just being
Stephanie.
intentional is
Yeah.
is is this first step.
Mm. So, Mrs. Stephanie, as an owner and founder, as well as a debut author, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
My short-term goals are to get this book out to people who need it. It is a manifesto and how-to guide for creating a space that supports your genius. I tell you why, I tell you how. I give you steps that allow you to do something right now that's going to help your space feel better. And then some steps that you can do next week that are going to help you feel better. And then things that you're going to do someday. So it's a process. That's my immediate short term goal. My long term goal is to continue working with more of my private clients where I work with families and very small businesses and individuals on creating a space that's really perfect for them and their family. I want to continue that. And I want to be consulting with large corporations, particularly healthcare and education, about how to do this on a much larger scale. Because when your body needs to heal or learn, if your nervous system is overwhelmed, if you are in fight or flight, your brain cannot think, learn, and your body cannot heal. It actually turns off your immune system. So this is my mission in life, is to get that awareness on the big scale.
Good luck to your goals, Miss
It's very
Stephanie.
ambitious, I grant you.
Yes, looking forward for more success. Dream big, as they said. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there want to be like you?
Want to be like me? Why would you want to be like me? You should want to be exactly like yourself.
Mm-hmm. True. So anything that you want to tell them to be who they are.
You are enough. You have a superpower and you can find that information within you. You don't need a lot of money. You don't need You don't really need anything except just to be within yourself and to start to, and to understand yourself, and everything else flows from there.
Yes, definitely. And Miss Stephanie, can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
There are so many.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite books, and this is not about sensory design or anything. It's called Act 1 by the playwright Moss Hart, who died in the 60s. He wrote a lot of hit plays in the 30s, 40s, and 50s on Broadway, and it's his autobiography. And that book, my seventh grade teacher handed to me, and she said, "Stephanie, I think you're going to like this." And I don't know how she knew. It's funny, it's inspiring, and it's very much a rags to riches story of a boy who grew up in the Bronx with absolutely nothing, wanted to be part of the theater, and just kept working at it and pivoting and trying things and doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it and failing and failing and failing until he wrote a play, he collaborated, he kept rewriting it, it failed, he kept rewriting it, it failed, and then click, he finally got the script right like a week before opening night. It opened and it's a smash hit and suddenly he's rich and famous. It's the best. I really, really recommend it. You can find it for about $1 in any used bookstore because it was very, very popular when it came out and everyone has forgotten about it. So that is Act 1 by Moss Hart.
Act one, people, highly recommended. And Miss Stephanie, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book one review in fifth season too, comedy one in third season, and movie one and food 101 in its fifth season as well, geography one in fourth season, and my baby podcast, law 101 and Mental Health 101 Love Letters in fourth season, as well as my movie 101 review and music 101 and science 101 and sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Stephanie, if someone is feeling overwhelmed by their own home and suspects they are an highly sensitive person, what is the very first manageable step you would advise them to take to begin their own habitat intervention?
I would advise them to take a deep breath through their nose,
Yes.
let it out, turn on some music that really makes them happy, move around a little bit,
Hmm.
and then I would have them take out their camera phone, take pictures of everything around them, load it into an album, and start making notes about what they would change, what they like, what they don't like, what they see. This does multiple things. The movement and the breath allows your nervous system to process stress and regulate. The music will uplift your heart. It will get you in tune with your body and your emotions. Taking the pictures is called framing. You're literally creating a rectangle with things inside it. Loading it into an album gives you some distance. You're not looking at your space, you're looking at chunks of it with a line around them. Gives you distance. Making the notes allows you to look at it with some distance and start to notice patterns. Notice things your brain has been editing out. At that point, you can start to notice some things are that your brain has been editing out, and you can start to pick what's going to be a high return on investment action. If you've got books scattered everywhere and they're all like leaning on each other and the pages are bent, your first action might be straighten the books. Just straighten the books. They look exciting and interesting when they're all straight, and it looks stressful when they're all bent because the pages are getting twisted and you can't read the spines. So pick an intervention after doing that. I could go on, but it's all in my book, and I hope that I have made it sound fun.
Totally fun. And congratulations, Miss Stephanie, for sharing your book to the world. Hoping for more and more empowering books like this to come. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your debut book or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Yes, you can just go to practicalsanctuary.com. You can get a copy of the book. You can get on my mailing list. You can browse my blogs, and you can book a consultation.
Yes. People, let's support Miss Stephanie Jackson because if you support her, for sure, more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Miss Stephanie, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Daniel. It's great to talk to you again.
More to come, people. See you soon.